beat that number this year. NDTV Bureau Report.
Well, I spoke earlier to spiritual leader Sadhguru Jaggi Vasudev for what Yoga Day means today and much more. Well, Sadhguruji, thank you so much for speaking to us on NDTV today. Today we're seeing huge gatherings for Yoga Day for the third year in a row in India and around the world. Do you think that yoga has become the most visible symbol of India's soft power?
I don't see yoga as India's power over the world. This is India's offering to the world. It's very important for us to understand that we as a culture, as a nation, we are offering this to the world in pursuit of human well-being. This is not a way of dominating the world. It is our privilege and our pleasure that yoga originated in this land, but I want to repeat this, which causes a lot of controversy in the country, that though yoga originated in this country, it is a technology of well-being. We cannot say it is Indian in the sense. It has origins in India but is not Indian in its nature, because if we say yoga is Indian, it is like saying gravity is Jewish or some other country. So this needs to be understood, that yoga is not a power. Yoga is not a way of dominating the world. Yoga is a way of empowering every human being on this planet. So it's a great privilege and pleasure that we can offer this to the world.
There are, however, those who see Yoga Day as an assertion of Hindu cultural nationalism. What would you say to those people?
I think that is of the past. The world is not seeing that way anymore. There was a time that there were court cases in America, and of course there is some protests in India, but I think people have evolved beyond that. Their understanding of yoga has moved. One needs to understand that this is not a religion, this is not a philosophy, this is not even an ideology, this is a technology for well-being. So nobody can have anything against technology, they just have to learn to use it. They don't have to believe it, they don't have to worship it, they just have to learn to use it. So yoga is technology for inner well-being. As there are technologies for external well-being, this is a technology for inner well-being. I think that type of resistance, I think, is largely over, and people have moved on with a better understanding of what yoga is.
Well, another criticism is about Yoga Day itself, that it's become this big show, that it's some kind of event management. Do you see some truth in that, or do you feel that it's important to do something like this at this scale in order to create awareness about the benefits of yoga?
Say, how do you make something into a mass movement? A mass movement, normally in the world, mass movements are always against somebody. If you have an enemy, it is very easy to create a mass movement. But this is a mass movement for your own well-being. This is not against somebody else. Essentially, the message of yoga is, there is no enemy for you. If at all, if there is one, it's yourself. When you are the enemy, how to galvanize people? If somebody shows us a better way of doing it, we can do it, but right now the only way we know is to use mass assembly of people, electronic medium, internet, whatever is tools that we have to use it to propagate it to the people. The fundamental goal behind this is this. See, right now, for example, today we as a generation of people, never before human societies had these kind of capabilities, that today we can communicate to the entire world. Every citizen on the planet can be touched being in one place. This ability to communicate is for the first time in the world. Though there have been many great beings in the past, none of them had this ability to communicate with the world. When this has happened, my intention is to change the fundamental concept of what we call a street. Today, if you utter the word street, in most people's mind, they're thinking of alcohol, drug, prostitution. Walking the street does not mean you're enjoying the street, it means something else. So we want to change this fundamental concept of what is street. Street should spell well-being, street should spell goodness, street should spell joy, not the negative things of life. That means our common reality in the human society should become that of well-being. For this to happen, Yoga is a very, very important tool. Yoga does not mean twisting and turning your body alone. That is just a small manifestation of yoga. There is a yoga for every dimension of your life, for your physiological well-being, for your psychological well-being, emotional well-being and spiritual well-being. There are different types or different dimensions of yoga. It is to bring this to humanity, where the effort is going on. If you think there is something wrong with the events that are happening, people should come up with better suggestions as to how to do it.
Well, Sadhguruji, India is a very complex country, and that's, reflected in what you said as well. And there are, unfortunately, so many negative headlines right now as well. On one hand, we're the nation of yoga and Gandhi, and on the other, you now have headlines about mobs beating up people and killing them. Are we going wrong somewhere?
Unfortunately, we are a very barely, policed nation. We don't have much policing in this country, which on one level is unfortunate in today's time, but on another level, we are proud of it that we are not policed, but still we have largely maintained sanity in this society. Here and there are aberrations which must be handled as per the rule of law. I think it is being done to whatever extent possible with the minimum policing that we have. But I think we are also exaggerating this in our consciousness because these things are happening everywhere. Little more in our country maybe right now because we are 1.3 billion people cooped up with very little space with each other. I think a whole lot of aberrations are mainly because of lack of space, too many people all over the place, there is more room for confrontations and frictions. But in spite of that, I have to tell you this, that with the minimum policing that we have, we are still a very, very peaceful society.
Well, Sadhguruji, there is also a very visible and a very aggressive nationalism that is on display in our country today, and it's everywhere, whether it's on social media, in the courts and everywhere. Do you think that's healthy for our democracy, for our people?
See, when we say a nation, we are talking about a large mass of people. In my ideal, in my consciousness, I would like to address entire humanity. But right now, in the existing reality, that is not really possible. So nation is the largest piece of humanity that you can address right now. We as a nation, we must understand this, nation is not some God-given thing. It is an agreement between all of us that we agreed that we will function as one nation. So when we got independence in 1947, we should have coalesced this idea of nation into everybody's mind in a strong way, because only then all of us will move in one direction. For a long time we left it loose, people functioned as communities, castes, creeds, various kinds of groups, but very few people really thinking for the nation. If we all want to move in one direction, some kind of emotion, some kind of pride about who we are has to come. Unfortunately, we did not build it at the birth of the nation, or when we got the free India that we got in 1947, I think we did not do that work because nation is not built on the outside, nation happens in the minds and hearts of people, which we have not done. So today, people are trying to do it in many different ways, and sometimes it may look very crude, sometimes it may look aggressive, but it is very important when 50% or nearly 500 million people are not even well nourished. They're not eating what they should eat from their childhood. When that's our condition, we should keep the nuances aside for some time and focus on making us feel strong as a nation, because without a strong emotion towards the country, you can't really take it forward. This is not a permanent thing, but at a certain phase in the making of a nation, it's very important there is a certain level of emotion towards the country, otherwise it will be very difficult to keep the sovereignty and the integrity of the nation.
But does that mean that people weren't proud to be Indian before 2014? Does it also speak of our insecurities, that we constantly need to display our patriotism? Are we insecure?
I don't understand how 2014 comes into the picture, but is it only since 2014 that we're feeling nationalistic? I don't think so. For all these 70 years, our brave soldiers have died for the nation, and many citizens of this nation have worked to build this country in so many ways. but at the same time, there has not been a sense of nation in the villages, in the communities, because people are more identified with their caste or creed or religion or whatever else. There is not a strong sense of national identity. Our identification with our languages, with our religious beliefs and different castes and communities has been unfortunately very strong. So our overriding emotion of nationality is needed right now to raise these people who have not eaten properly. 2 generations of people have passed since independence and still they're not getting to eat properly. As you know, farmers are committing suicide, and the level of difficulty common Indians are going through is too much. So a little sense of nationhood is needed in everybody's emotion. Is it being overdone? Can only be looked back tomorrow. Tomorrow we can look back and see did we overdo it or not. But in today's context, I think we have not done enough of nation building in the minds and hearts of people. It needs to be done. And I don't think it's a prerogative of any particular party or group. It is the work of every Indian to bring this sense and pride about who we are. Because without pride, without people being proud of who they are, we cannot come together as a nation and create a great nation.
Well, Sadhguru Jaggi Vasudev, thank you so much for speaking to us. And I think what you said at the end there was particularly important, that nationalism isn't something that is to be appropriated only by one group or by one political party. It's about every citizen of India. That's it on the show tonight. We'll see you tomorrow.